Rabbi YITZHAK KADURI said, on his deathbed, that the Messiah, Jesus, had visited him and that he would return to Israel shortly after the death of Ariel Sharon. We are at that critical moment. Could it be that Jesus is coming soon? Is he really at the door as Rabbi Kaduri prophesied last year? Will the death of Ariel Sharon herald the rapture of the Church and the return of Messiah?
Israel's former Prime Minister Ariel Sharon has died at the age of 85, having spent 8 years in a coma caused by a stroke. One of the country's most iconic politicians and military leaders passed away just days after his condition worsened dramatically. From the Lebanon war to Israel's disengagement from Gaza, Sharon's years in politics were marked by several historic decisions. But what he's likely to do and to be remembered for by many Israelis is the controversial issue of settlements in the West Bank, as RT's Paul Aslia reports.
Ariel Sharon cut a divisive figure between those who loved him and those who certainly didn't. But all agree Ariel Sharon was undoubtedly the father of the Israeli settler movement. Under his guidance, more than 100 settlements were built on the Gaza Strip. His motto, to defend and preserve the Jewish state. Ezra Eldar was a lifelong supporter of Ariel Sharon. For 27 years, he farmed spices and flowers in the former Gaza settlement of Gnei Tal.
He was the builder of settlements. Even in ours, he built 20 new homes, just like he did in other places. We saw him as the father of the settlers, and he did so much for us.
But 8.5 years ago, Ezra, his wife and 3 children were forced out of their Gaza home, along with 8,000 others. His hero had become his enemy.
I feel betrayed, like a husband who walked into his home to find his wife with his neighbor. Sharon will most likely be praised as he should be, but I would also like him to be remembered for all the things that are not so pleasant and which were critical to all of Israel.
The longtime champion of Jewish settlements in the occupied territories came to believe there'd be more trouble than they were worth. And because Sharon was the one who built them, it came as a shock that he was the one to destroy them.
At the end of the day, he looked at them as instrumental for whatever needs he had at the moment. When he thought that the settlers and the settlement movement were serving the needs of a stronger Israel, he supported them, and he supported them more than anyone had. But when he felt that they were no longer serving the needs of a strong Israel, then he turned against them.
So much so, there was a total disengagement from Gaza. Despite the anger it evoked among his supporters, Sharon looked set to return as Prime Minister in fresh elections. But in 2005, he suffered a stroke from which he never recovered. After withdrawing from Gaza, Sharon ruled out any further unilateral withdrawals. But the settlements he built continue to be a major sticking point in negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians. Paul Aslia, RT, Tel Aviv.
The late Rabbi YITZHAK KADURI said, on his deathbed, that the Messiah, Jesus, had visited him and that he would return to Israel shortly after the death of Ariel Sharon. We are at that critical moment. Could it be that Jesus is coming soon? Is he really at the door as Rabbi Kaduri prophesied last year? Will the death of Ariel Sharon herald the rapture of the Church and the return of Messiah?